People think the worst thing about losing someone is the silence they leave behind. That is a lie. The worst thing is seeing them again while they look at you like you are a stranger. That was the first thought in my head the moment Dr. Adrian Hale walked past me on that cold November morning in Arlington. Breeze carrying the faint smell of burnt leaves, and he gave me that nod strangers give each other. Polite, distant, empty. He used to kiss me with that mouth. Now he barely recognized I existed. I had prepared myself for this moment for months. I told myself I was strong enough. I had practiced breathing exercises in my bathroom mirror like some kind of disaster drill. But no one can rehearse the feeling of being erased. My name is River Callahan, and once upon a time, I was Adrian's everything. Now, I was a footnote in the wreckage of a life he could no longer remember. The crash stole it from him. The military doctors said he survived by luck. They said the amnesia wasn't unusual. They said memories sometimes come back, sometimes don't. They did not say what to do when the man you loved returns breathing but blank, like someone hit delete on your entire existence. And they certainly didn't tell me what to do the day the base invited families and partners to the memorial service for the fallen. That day, I stood among mothers who clutched folded flags, fathers who had trembling hands, siblings who whispered names like prayers, and lovers who wore grief like a second skin. Adrian walked through the gathering with the discipline of a man who used to feel everything too deeply and now felt nothing at all. His uniform was pristine, the dark blue sharp against the soft gray sky. His eyes, once gentle, now held a sheen of ice. He looked like a man trying to outrun something inside himself. Maybe he was. I should not have been there. I was not on the invitation list anymore. My name had been removed when the doctors told him he was single and unattached before the crash. Apparently, the truth was too complicated to explain to a man whose brain had rebooted like a wiped hard drive. But I went anyway, gripping the small dog tag chain he once gave me, the one he didn't even know existed anymore. I stayed far in the back, behind a row of tall veterans with stiff shoulders. I told myself I only came to honor those who didn't make it home. That was partly true. The other truth was that I needed to see him, even if he didn't want to see me. But fate has a twisted sense of humor. Because the moment his gaze drifted across the crowd and brushed mine, something flickered behind his eyes. Not recognition, not memory, but something. A spark, a fracture, a ghost of a feeling he didn't know he'd lost. Then he looked away, jaw clenching. So I broke first. An older woman beside me pressed a tissue into my hand, misunderstanding everything. I thanked her with a nod because if I opened my mouth, I would shatter. The ceremony began. The wind shifted. Flags flapped in unison like a great collective heartbeat. Names were read aloud, one by one, accompanied by the slow, rhythmic toll of a bell. I closed my eyes, letting the sound wash over me. Every toll felt like Adrian drifting further out into a sea I could not swim across. Then came the tradition I almost forgot about. They asked volunteers to come up and speak the names of those they loved, those they remembered, those who mattered. I did not plan to speak. I did not plan anything. But grief is impulsive. Love even more so. My feet moved before my brain did. And suddenly I was walking toward the podium, squeezing past shoulders, whispers following me like trailing smoke. I stood before the microphone, breath trembling, heart slamming against my ribs like it was trying to escape. The entire field fell into silence. And I said it. Adrian Hale. Just his name. 2 simple words. But the moment they left my lips, the world cracked open. Every head turned toward him. He stiffened like someone had struck him. His eyes locked onto mine from across the memorial ground, wide and startled, as if the sound of his own name in my voice triggered a tectonic shift inside him. Something broke. Something woke. Something remembered. Not everything, but enough. His breath hitched, visible even from where I stood. His gloved hand clenched at his side. His composure cracked like thin ice under too much weight. A beat, a tremor, a flicker of recognition he could not explain. The crowd faded from his awareness. For that single, horrifying, miraculous moment, there was only me and him and the ghost of what we used to be. And that was how our story began again. Painfully, messily, imperfectly. With a name whispered into the cold November air. With a man breaking open in the ruins of his memory. With me, unable to stop loving someone who didn't know he ever loved me at all. He did not approach me after the ceremony. He did not speak. He did not ask how I knew his name. But he stared. God, he stared like he was trying to solve an equation that no longer added up. Later, when the crowd dispersed and families hugged and soldiers wiped their eyes discreetly, I lingered near the stone pathway. My breath fogged in the chill as I watched him walk toward his car, posture stiff. Then he stopped, turned, looked straight at me, not the polite look he gave strangers. An aching, searching stare. My knees nearly buckled. He opened his mouth slightly, like he wanted to say something, but no sound came out. His fingers twitched at his side, almost like he wanted to reach for me. An instinct older than his missing memories. But fear won against whatever stirred inside him. He got in his car and drove away, leaving me standing there with my heart between my shaking hands. I thought that was the end. I was wrong. That afternoon, as I sat on the porch of my apartment overlooking a quiet Virginia street lined with amber leaves, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I nearly didn't answer. But something in my chest lit up, a wildfire instinct, and I picked up. A long breath, then a familiar, restrained voice. River Callahan, he said, like tasting the name for the first time. My heart slammed to a stop. This is Dr. Adrian Hale, he continued, formal, almost cold. I need to speak with you. I swallowed hard. Why? A pause, shaky and raw and terrified. Because when you said my name today, he whispered, I felt something I don't understand. I pressed a trembling hand to my mouth. Silence stretched between us, filled with ghosts. And then he said the sentence that unraveled me entirely. I think I used to know you, he whispered. I closed my eyes. You did, I breathed. Very much. His exhale trembled. Then please tell me why it hurts. That was when I realized the universe was giving me a second chance. Not a perfect one, not an easy one, but a miracle nonetheless. Come over, I said softly. I'll tell you everything. He arrived 20 minutes later, and the moment he stepped into my doorway, the weight of our past buried, broken, forgotten rose between us like a tide. He looked around my apartment like it held missing pages of a book he once wrote. His gaze caught on a framed photo on the shelf. A photo of us, laughing, arms around each other, sunlight hitting his smile in a way that once made me believe humans were capable of making their own light. He stared at the photo for a long, unbearable time. Then he whispered, I don't remember this. A crack in his voice, another in my heart. It's okay, I said gently. You don't have to remember everything today. He looked at me then, really looked, as if searching for the connection he had lost. River, he said quietly. Why do I feel like I lost something important? I hesitated. Because he deserved the truth. Because he deserved everything we once were. Because he deserved the version of himself who loved fiercely and completely. You didn't just lose something, I whispered. You lost us. His breath hitched. And just like that, the real beginning began. A beginning built in the rubble of memory and love and pain. A beginning he didn't remember choosing. A beginning I never stopped holding on to. And somewhere, deep in the shadows of his fragmented mind, something stirred awake. Something that sounded a lot like my name. Adrian sat across from me on the worn sofa. His posture rigid as though he were bracing for an impact that hadn't happened yet. His hands were clasped together, fingers interlocked so tightly the knuckles paled. He looked like a man afraid of his own bones. I tried to steady my breathing. My world was sitting in front of me, broken in ways I couldn't mend, and yet somehow still here. Tell me everything, he said finally, voice low. Not all of it at once. Just enough so I can stop feeling like I'm standing in a room full of smoke. I nodded, though my chest constricted. This wasn't a story. This was the life we lived, the one that was torn away from both of us. You and I met 3 years ago, I began gently. He blinked, eyes tracking every word like they were stepping stones across dangerous water. Where? At a base hospital in Colorado. I swallowed hard. I was a contractor working with veterans, helping them transition out. You were there temporarily covering shortages. We kept running into each other. Literally. You spilled coffee on me the first time. Right down the front of my shirt. His brows furrowed. I did. Yeah. A weak smile pulled at my mouth. You apologized so much I thought your commander was going to order you to stand down. Something flickered behind his eyes. I prayed it was memory. It wasn't. I can't find that, he murmured, tapping 2 fingers to his temple as though knocking might open a locked door. Everything back then is just static. It's okay, I whispered. No, he said, sharper this time. It's not okay. You're sitting there talking about a life I apparently lived and I can't picture a single second of it. His voice shook. He didn't hide it. Adrian used to hide everything. The man in front of me couldn't even hide the pain eating him alive. He dragged a hand down his face. Do you know what it feels like? To look at you and feel a pull I can't explain? Like my body knows you but my mind refuses to? Yes. I wanted to say yes because my heart recognized him even when he wouldn't look at me. But I kept my voice steady. It's normal, I said softly. Your doctor explained this to me. Sometimes emotional memory comes before factual memory. He froze. My doctor explained? His eyes sharpened on me. You spoke to my doctor? I hesitated. I asked for updates after the crash. A storm passed through his expression. Hurt, confusion, something raw underneath. Why? He whispered. Because I love you, I said. I didn't stop just because you forgot. The silence that followed was stifling. Adrian stared at me like I'd handed him a truth too heavy to carry. I don't. He inhaled shakily. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. You're not supposed to do anything, I said quickly. I'm not asking you to force anything. I just want to help you understand what you feel, or don't feel, or might feel tomorrow. His eyes flickered with something like relief mixed with dread. You talk like you know me. I do. And I don't know you at all. My breath faltered. Not right now. But you did. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, eyes fixed on the floor. River, I don't want to hurt you. You're not. His jaw tightened. But I am hurting you. I didn't respond. I couldn't lie to him. He lifted his gaze finally, and the vulnerability there hit me like a punch. Adrian Hale did not do vulnerable. Not before the crash. Not even after. Except now. Can I ask you something? He said quietly. Anything. When you said my name today, why did it hit me so hard? Felt like someone cracked open a door in my head and sunlight spilled in. Emotion caught in my throat. Because you always said my voice was home. His breath stuttered. He looked away. I don't remember that. You don't have to. Your body does. He sat still for a moment, absorbing that. Then he stood abruptly and walked to the framed photo again. He picked it up carefully, holding it like it might disappear if he blinked too hard. What were we like? He asked, voice fragile. We were stubborn, I admitted. And we fought a lot, mostly because you worked too much and I worried too much. But we were good together. You made me feel safe. You made me feel chosen. He swallowed. Did I ever tell you that? Every day in your own way. You weren't big on speeches, but you were big on showing up. He stared at the photo. And now I don't even remember what it felt like to touch you. I looked down. You don't have to force yourself. I'm not forcing anything. His voice dropped. I'm trying to understand the ache. That ache. The one memory loss couldn't amputate because some things are woven into bone, not brain. He placed the photo back, then turned slowly toward me. Were we serious? He asked. I met his eyes. We planned to move in together. After your deployment ended. A sharp inhale. And the crash happened before that. Yes. He rubbed his chest once, like something hurt there. Did I ever ask you to wait for me? A soft laugh escaped me, half broken. You didn't have to ask. He sank onto the sofa again, this time closer. My pulse jumped. His knee brushed mine lightly. He didn't pull away. "River," he said slowly. "What do you want from me? Right now. Today. I want you to feel safe," I whispered. "I want you to know you don't owe me the past. We can start wherever you need. And if I never remember," my throat tightened, "then I'll love you through getting to know me again." He closed his eyes, pain flickering across his features. "That terrifies me," he admitted. "Why?" "Because I think a part of me already wants to know you again. And I don't understand why." My chest swelled painfully. "It's okay to want that. Is it?" His eyes were glassy now. "Because it feels like I'm betraying a man I used to be. A man I can't recall." "You're not betraying him," I said softly. "You are him." He leaned back, head against the sofa. "Then why do I feel like an imposter in my own life?" I didn't answer. Instead, I reached out slowly, giving him every chance to pull away. I rested my hand lightly over his. He went completely still. But he didn't move away. Our fingers sat side by side, close enough to share warmth but not entwined. A fragile beginning. After a moment, he whispered, "This feels familiar." I exhaled shakily. "Good." He didn't look at me, but his thumb brushed the side of my hand. Barely there. A trembling ghost of a touch. It was the first time he had touched me in 8 months. I memorized the moment like a starving man hoarding crumbs. Then he stood abruptly, pacing the room like a caged animal. "This isn't enough," he muttered. "I need to know what happened. All of it. The crash. The days after. What I said. What I didn't say. Why no one told me about you." I hesitated. "Your medical team said they didn't want to overwhelm you. They said emotional history could destabilize recovery. Your commander thought it was safer to wait." His laugh came sharp and bitter. "Safer for who?" I flinched. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration cracking through the calm facade. "I'm sorry," he said immediately. "I'm not angry at you. I know." I took a breath. "Do you want to see where we used to spend weekends? It might help." He paused. Something softened. "Yes," he said. So we left the apartment. The air outside smelled like pine and early winter. Adrian shoved his hands into the pockets of his jacket, walking with the stiff caution of someone navigating unfamiliar terrain. We drove in silence, the tension electric but fragile. 20 minutes later, we arrived at the lake. Our lake. The one tucked behind the ridge where we used to sit on the dock with our feet in the water, talking about everything and nothing. He stepped out of the car and froze. The lake glimmered under the muted afternoon sky. The wooden dock stretched out like an invitation sanded by time. He took a few slow steps toward it. "I've been here," he murmured. My heart skipped. "Do you remember something?" "I don't know." He touched the railing. "It feels like déjà vu. Like a dream I forgot I had." We walked to the end of the dock. The water rippled gently below us. He stared at the horizon for a long time. "Did I kiss you here?" he asked suddenly. My breath caught. "Once or twice." "Only once or twice?" I smiled faintly. "Maybe more." He turned toward me. The wind tousled his dark hair. His eyes held something warm but terrified, as though he was standing at the edge of an emotion too big to name. "Do you want to sit?" I asked. He nodded. We sat side by side on the dock, legs hanging over the edge. After a moment, he whispered, "Tell me something you never told me before. Something new. Something the old me didn't know." I blinked. "Why?" "Because I can't go back," he said. "But maybe I can start forward." Emotion struck me square in the chest. I inhaled. "Okay, something new." I thought for a long moment. Then I said quietly, "Before you, I didn't believe in staying. I always thought people left. But you made me want to build a life instead of running from one." He was silent for a long time. Then, with a slow, careful movement, he reached out and intertwined our fingers. My breath shattered. His voice was barely above a whisper. "Then let me try to be the man who stays." I gripped his hand, afraid he might disappear if I let go. You don't have to be anything except yourself, I said. He shook his head softly. Somewhere inside me, I think, I already was. And maybe part of him is still here. Then he looked at our joined hands like they held the key to everything he'd forgotten. River, he said slowly. I want to try. I don't know how, but I want to try. The sky stretched wide above us. The lake breathed quietly below. And for the first time since the crash, the future did not feel like a ghost. Felt like a beginning. A fragile, trembling, beautiful beginning. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The dock creaked softly beneath us as the breeze carried the scent of winter over the lake. Adrian's fingers tightened around mine, as though anchoring himself to something real in a world that kept slipping away from him. I want to remember, he murmured, eyes fixed on the rippling water. I want to know what it felt like to love you. You don't have to force that, I said gently, though the words had to fight past the ache in my throat. I'm not forcing it. I'm reaching for it. He turned toward me, and something in me keeps reaching back. His expression, open, vulnerable, terrified, was nothing like the man I used to know, yet somehow more honest than anything memory could have returned. He cleared his throat. Tell me about the night we said goodbye. The question knocked the breath out of me. Why that night? I asked quietly. Because it feels important. His eyes darkened. Like something broke there. I looked out over the lake, steadying myself. The past was a raw place, and opening it meant bleeding again. You were leaving for assignment, I began. We had one last night before you deployed. Adrian listened with his whole body, leaning slightly toward me, as though he were afraid he might miss something that could save him. You came here, I continued, right to this dock. You said you didn't know what the mission would look like. You didn't know how dangerous. And you said you weren't supposed to make promises. I paused. But you made one anyway. What did I promise? His voice was barely a whisper. That you'd come back to me. His chest rose sharply. He shut his eyes, pained. I didn't, he said. You did, I countered softly. Just different. He shook his head faintly. Not in the way I meant. I swallowed. You told me you'd make it home, even if you crawled your way across the world. His eyes opened, staring at me with something raw. Did I say that? You did. He looked down at our hands. That sounds like something I would have said. It was. Silence stretched, heavy but not suffocating. A silence filled with the weight of what he lost and what he was slowly reclaiming. He glanced at me again. What happened after the crash? Where were you? I tried to get to the base but wasn't allowed inside. They said I wasn't listed as family. I waited outside the gates for days. My voice faltered. I slept in my car. I talked to anyone who would give me updates. His face twisted with guilt so profound it hurt to look at. No one should have let you go through that alone. I wasn't alone, I whispered. I had hope. He stared at me, eyes shining. Has anyone ever told you that you're too brave for your own good? Only you, I murmured. He blinked hard. The air shifted around us, quiet but charged. River, he said, voice trembling. I don't know if I'll ever get it all back. I don't know if the pieces of who I was will fall into place again. My heart tightened. I know, but I want to learn, he continued. Even if it's slow, even if it scares me, even if it hurts. He swallowed. Can you let me fall in love with you again? At my pace, in my way. I felt tears gathering at the edges of my vision. Yes, I breathed. Of course. He exhaled shakily, relief unfolding in his shoulders. Good. Because something tells me I already am. My breath caught. His gaze held mine steady, brave, terrified, determined. Can I ask you something? He said. Anything. Did I ever kiss you here? He gestured to the lake, a small, trembling smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. I blinked, heat blooming beneath my skin. Yeah, more times than I can count. He laughed softly. Show me. What? I don't want to copy the past, he said. I want to start something new. But maybe, Maybe I can meet it halfway. My heart thudded violently. Slowly, carefully, he lifted a hand and touched my jaw. His thumb brushed my cheek, warm and hesitant, as though he were memorizing the shape of me in real time. "Is this okay?" he whispered. "Yes." He leaned in, but not all the way. "Not yet." He rested his forehead against mine, breath warm against my lips, letting the moment stretch, letting the choice settle between us. "I don't remember the first time I kissed you," he murmured, "but I want to remember this one." And then, gently, he pressed his lips to mine. It was soft, shy, a beginning, not a memory. And yet somehow it felt like coming home. When we finally drew apart, he exhaled shakily. "Okay," he whispered. "Now I get it." "Get what?" "Why losing you feels like losing air." His smile was small and broken and beautiful. "Why hearing my name in your voice today punched a hole straight through my chest." I laughed helplessly, tears slipping free. "You don't have to say things like that." "I'm not saying them," he whispered. "I'm remembering them." I froze. "Adrian." His eyes widened slightly, as though startled by his own words. "I don't know," he said breathlessly. "It wasn't a full memory, just a feeling, like an echo." "It's enough," I whispered. He nodded, swallowing hard. "Yeah, it is." We stayed on the dock until the sky turned navy and the cold crept into our bones. He didn't let go of my hand once. When we finally headed back to the car, he hesitated beside the passenger door. "River." "Yeah. Can I stay with you tonight?" "Not in the way we used to. He looked down, embarrassed. "I don't want to be alone in my head." Warmth spilled through me. "You can stay." We drove back to my apartment, soft music playing through the speakers like a fragile bridge between past and present. Inside, he wandered through my living room slowly, taking everything in as though the walls were holding stories only his body remembered. He paused at the kitchen doorway. "Did we cook together?" "You tried," I said. "You burned pasta twice." He snorted. "That sounds about right." We settled on the couch with a blanket over our legs. He leaned against Menet fully, just enough that I could feel the warmth of him seeping through the fabric of his jacket. After a quiet moment, he said, "Tell me something else about us." "We danced in the kitchen," I replied softly. "Whenever you were stressed." His lips curved faintly. "Then I must have danced a lot." "You did." He thought for a moment, then held out a hand toward me. "Teach me again." A breath escaped me. "Here? Now?" He nodded. So I took his hand and stood with him in the dim light of the living room. I placed one of his hands on my shoulder and held the other at our side. He stepped awkwardly at first, stumbling through the rhythm. But slowly it became natural. He rested his forehead on my shoulder without meaning to, and I felt his breath against my neck. The warmth of him, the weight of him. He swallowed. "I feel safe." I closed my eyes. "Good." We swayed for a long time, neither of us speaking. Eventually he whispered, "River, can I ask one more thing?" "Anything. Promise you won't walk away," he said, voice cracking. "Even if I never remember everything." My chest tightened painfully. "I'm not going anywhere." He exhaled, shaky relief softening the lines of his face. "Thank you." We danced until exhaustion pulled at him. Then he lay on the couch, head resting in my lap, breathing slow and steady. As he drifted to sleep, he murmured something soft, almost unintelligible. I leaned closer. "Missed you." My heart stopped. I brushed my fingers through his hair, voice barely a breath. "I missed you too." When morning came, he woke before the sun, blinking groggily as he sat up. He looked at me like he was trying to place something. "River," he said slowly, "I had a dream." "What kind of dream?" His eyes warmed. "Us." Emotion surged through me. "Do you remember anything?" He shook his head. "Not exactly." Then he reached out, touching my cheek gently. "But I remember how it felt." The softest smile tugged at his lips. "And I want more." I covered his hand with mine. "You will have it." He nodded. "Good." Then he whispered, "Because I think I'm falling in love with you." Again. My breath broke, and when he leaned forward and kissed Munhurried, certain, warm it was not a memory. It was a promise. A new beginning built on the ashes of what we lost and the hope of what we were becoming. A beginning we chose together. And this time, neither of us was going anywhere. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.